You touched on the Trump meeting there earlier. I want to get your thoughts on that. If the Prime Minister does get that face-to-face, you've been very strong on the argument that we need to lift defence spending. Where is this something that the Prime Minister should be taking to Trump to say, look, we will raise this upwards of 3%? Where do you think we should land in the end when it comes to defence spending? 3.5%, 4%? What's ideal there?
What's ideal is that we understand we have to. Even Kurt Campbell, who was a Democrat, who was from the Biden administration, said the China play is in go at the moment for our region, for Australia. This is not America's problem. This is Australia's problem. We've seen what's happened in the Solomon Islands. Vanuatu now apparently is very sort of tetchy and sort of getting closer and closer to Beijing. Wang Yi, the Chinese foreign minister, has been very close to delay in Timor-Leste. Even Papua New Guinea, we thought we had a defence agreement with them, but apparently we don't. Had the Chinese Communist Party circumnavigating Australia, doing live fire exercises in the sea adjacent to Sydney, and we think we don't have a problem, or we do have a problem. We've got the biggest problem we've had since the Second World War, and the comparative power of the Chinese communists is vastly, vastly greater than the comparative power of Nazi Germany was.
So what sort of number are we talking about, do you think?
We're talking about a number that's going to be able to defend ourselves, and we have to be guided by where our number one ally, the United States, is on that, because, I mean, we're relying on them. Our defence policy, apparently at this stage, Kieran, is if we get into trouble, we're going to rely on the mums and dads of Tennessee and South Carolina and New York and California and Montana to send their sons and daughters over to Australia to get killed because we weren't ready. I think that's a very flimsy defence policy. We better have something a bit more substantial than that.
So when you say guided by the US, that's Hegseth was saying 3.5% last time we heard.
Well, I think this is vastly more important than net zero. And on this issue, I want the Prime Minister of Australia to do the best job on behalf of Australia. That is in the protection of Australia. People have to understand this is why we have to become as strong as possible, as quickly as possible. And by God, Kieran, I've been saying that for a long, long time. And you can't do that without a manufacturing basis to your economy, and you can't have a manufacturing basis to your economy if you don't have cheap energy, and that's what a net zero knocks that out. So they're all connected.
Ahead of the Charlie Kirk Memorial tomorrow, it's been we look back over the last few decades. We saw a real turning point. Excuse the pun, in our nation, 1996, when John Howard made the gun reforms. How do we make sure that Australia doesn't go down this path of political violence, as we're seeing in the United States right now, and choose our own path when it comes to this, our discourse?
Australians have a different culture, a very egalitarian culture, where we'll say things as we believe they should be said in a direct manner, but we don't take ourselves to the next step of killing people. I hope that never happens. I think it's in the very nature of Australia. We also have compulsory voting, which has more of a tempering phase in how politics is played. In overseas, with non-compulsory voting, it's more exceptionalism and trying to really sort of shake the tree to see what falls out. This is a disaster, the murder of Charlie Kirk. What I would say is those who've come out with some vitriolic partisan statements against a person who's died and has a wife and kids have been murdered. I mean, that's really sick. You don't do that. So you self-monitor and work on the Australian culture. An egalitarian nation, we've always been robust. We call BS when we see BS. And I think that takes the pressure off so that we don't, get all wound up and want to murder people. I'm seeing a little bit more of that more and more on the internet. The statements are getting more vile at times. I hope the Australian culture leaves us blessed that we don't become where other nations, not just America, so many other nations are, where they fix their problems by murdering people.
Finally, this catastrophic outage for Optus and the 000 network, this is an appalling set of circumstances the last couple of days. Really hard to believe in, and a tragedy at a personal level we're hearing at least 4 families, Barnaby Joyce.
Yeah, this is tragic. And I don't think they deliberately did it, but unfortunately they're neglectful in how they had a system that should have been able to get around this. And that's a massive problem. It needs to be investigated exactly how this happens. It needs to be obviously resolved so it doesn't happen again. And questions need to be asked, like, you have a responsibility when people's lives are literally in your hands on a 000 call. What was your fallback mechanism? What was your sail-proof mechanism, or didn't you have one?
Former Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce, thanks. We'll talk to you soon.